Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. I wanted to have a back to the basics kind of discussion here with you today, and I want to begin by reminding you that a primary goal, in fact we could even say the primary goal of a healthy individual, is to develop an awareness of who you were meant to be and then living into all that might mean and entail. Contrasting that, when the narcissist is in your presence, they too have a primary goal, and it's nothing like that. The narcissist's primary goal relative to you is to drain you of who you are meant to be, filling you with their version of who they think you're supposed to be. And of course, that's a formula for disaster, but this explains why narcissists will come toward you with strong control tactics. They have an unwillingness or an inability to empathize with you. They truly do not care about knowing you from the inside out. They are wanting to perpetuate a sense of false superiority, which means that they ascribe to you the inferior position. But then we go back to that goal of a healthy person and says, I need to discover who I was meant to be. And I want to focus on one word that captures what that implies, and that's the word essence. When we talk about your essence, and the English word for essence comes from the Latin root word that just means being, your being. Your essence means that it's just the core of what you are from the inside out. It's the defining ingredients of your inner self. And as we contrast who you are with what the narcissist says you're supposed to be, we're going to realize that it's your essence that the narcissist absolutely cannot and will not get. They won't understand you. They have no desire or no willingness to know your essence. And so that's going to set you up for some work on your side, knowing that they're going to be working against you in that regard. In fact, why don't we take it a little bit further and say that when you do not live into your true self, that's the beginning point of your internal tension and your emotional dysregulation. When you feel that you do not have the freedom to be your authentic self, that's going to bring out the less than desirable ingredients in you. Now, I want you to see that there are multiple indicators that would imply that you're not living into your essence, but you're allowing the narcissist to take over what that would be. For example, how many times do you find yourself filtering your opinions through the narcissist? It's like, well, I have certain ideas and thoughts, but you know how they get. Never mind, I don't even want to say anything about it. And in fact, I'll just echo what they have to say. Or how many times do you find yourself doing the same thing with your priorities? You have your preferences and your thoughts about how you'd like to manage each day, but it's like, well, but the narcissist has so many ideas of what my priorities are supposed to be that I guess I have to filter that too. Or another thought, and that is how commonly do you find your emotions being determined by who the narcissist is? For example, the narcissist wants you to live with fear. They mistrust you, and then you wind up having a mistrust to the extent that you find yourself feeling tense and agitated whenever there's going to be some strain. They want you to live inside of shame. They love it when you have a certain amount of hesitancy in the way that you engage. They like it when you are insecure. They like it when you have dysregulated anger. They like it when you find yourself in contempt, because you see, that tells them that they win, that you're becoming a less and less effective kind of individual, and they somehow think, yeah, this is good for me, and it's a crazy game that they play with you. But that implies that you've been robbed of your essence. The same thing we can say is whenever you just feel like there are certain grooves that you have to fit inside of that the narcissist has prescribed for you, that tells us that the narcissist couldn't care less about your essence, and you have lost your sense of essence, that sense of meaning of who you're meant to be. Now, I want to see if we can do a bit of a questioning with respect to how narcissists can approach you and how you can respond with your healthy essence intact. For example, let's go back and underscore. The narcissist wants you to have the same priorities and opinions and values as that person does. I'd like for you to ask yourself a very basic question. How do their priorities or opinions and values differ from yours? And what would happen if you were to decide, I'm going to go ahead and give highest preference to what is on the inside of me? How would that change you? And I think it's important for you to zero in on certain episodes or scenarios in which you need to stand up and say, this is me. This is who I am. This is how I perceive. This is how I think. How would it be different if you were to say, I'm giving first priority to my own inner instincts? That would be nice. Or how about this? The narcissist, as I mentioned, wants you to be intimidated by them. They want to create a subordinate mindset in you. Let's ask another question, and that is, what would you be like if you did not fear that narcissist's intimidating pronouncements? If they say something like, you're going to be sorry for thinking this way, or you're going to be sorry for coming against me, and they want you to tremble in your boots, what would happen if you decide, I'm just not very good at being somebody that I'm not. I'm going to go ahead and proceed with being me. If the narcissist likes it, that would be great. If they don't, I just need to be me. I don't want to be. I don't want to live according to fear and intimidation and condescension that's coming from that narcissistic person. In other words, let's stay inside your essence of what you're meant to be. Or we can also say the narcissist has no interest in your personal growth or learning your inner strengths and building upon that. Why don't we ask another question? And that is, what interests you most? And when do you feel most at peace? And how can you get to that place? That's what we're talking about when we say having a sense of growth, growing into who you were meant to be and letting your interest show you how you're going to live each day. Or we mentioned that another thing about the narcissist, they love it when you're emotionally dysregulated, and especially with anger, because it allows them to play the gotcha game. Because if they say and do things that make you look way out of sorts, you're agitated and irritable all the time, then somehow they feel like that makes them win. Of course, they don't pay attention to their own anger. Another question we might want to ask relative to that then is, well, what do you think is reasonable when you feel angry? Is anger okay? If so, what makes it okay? Is anger sometimes out of bounds? If so, what adjustments might that require from you from the inside out? But they love it to see you operating with just unruly kind of emotion. I wonder if you can pull back and ask, how does that fit? My management of anger, how does that fit in with who I am meant to be and how I want to define myself? Stay consistent with that. The same thing, we can say the narcissist wants you to have a sense of shame. They're going to shame you whenever you perhaps make mistakes or you just have a lack of information about something. It's like, oh, you're so wrong and there's nothing good with you. Another question you can ask yourself, therefore, is how would you like to tend to your own self when you know that you are in fact incomplete or there's need for growth in there? How do you manage that? Is shame a good way to go? Or can you just simply say, I'm on a learning curve and I found out something that I can learn more about and I'm going to move forward? Likewise, we can say the narcissist wants you to embrace perhaps their same social preferences. What if you were to decide, well, maybe I need to ask, how would I like to proceed with my social practices? Or taking it a little bit further, the narcissist has all sorts of lifestyle practices that they want to superimpose upon you. For example, whether it's your food choices or money management or religious practices or not, or your sleep preferences or politics, whatever it might be. What if you were to ask, what am I most comfortable with respect to those kind of things? You see, the narcissist absolutely doesn't get the fact that you need to be true to who you were meant to be. That's something that they have no interest in learning about. They have no interest in assisting you with at all. But I'm hoping that you can have a type of defiance as you have that realization about their preferences versus what you need most within yourself. I'm hoping that you can think towards the narcissist. You can have your essence, and it can be anchored in selfishness and control, or the lack of authenticity. But you see, I can have my essence too, and my essence is going to be quite different. You can be you, but I'm going to be me, and that might be quite different. If we ever get to the point to where the essence of myself converges with your essence, great. That means we might be able to go someplace good. But if not, I simply cannot hand over something as essential to my well-being as my inner self. I can't afford to allow someone who has zero interest in knowing me in that regard to control who I'm going to be. I hope that you can discern what your essence can be and should be and is ideally meant to be, and live into it for all it's worth. Now, I hope the videos such as this give you some good food for thought, and I'm hoping it can allow you to realize how there's much growth that you can still lean into. That's what we're all about here on the Surviving Narcissism channel. And you know that I call us Team Healthy because that's what we're trying to do. If you've not already hit the subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. Hit the like button too. And we're going to keep more videos coming towards you. And as you watch them in a cumulative basis, I hope it just helps you find yourself more and more in a good kind of way. Likewise, I know many times when you're dealing with these kind of subjects, you might have a need for therapy. And I'm a therapist. I'm retired now, but that's something I believe in deeply, and I've been sponsored for years now by the people at BetterHelp.com. There's a link below that will take you to their website. The BetterHelp system is very accessible. It's affordable. I've received very good feedback from people on that. So please, if you have a need for therapy, take up the possibility there and get the help that you need. Likewise, I have my therapeutic courses, and these are extensive, and I put a lot of work into it. It would require a lot of work from you. It's like signing up for an online class. Each course has at least 25 videos with written documents and guided questions regarding various subjects. We have Ready, Set, Connect about making good connection skills. This is me about finding yourself and having good boundaries, and then free to be being who you need to be despite those controllers. We also have my webinars that have already been presented. They're still available to you, as well as my podcast, our books, many articles on our website, lots of resources. Okay. You owe it to yourself to discern what your essence will be, your inner being. The narcissist has zero interest in it. They don't get your essence. That's on them. But I'm hoping you can commit yourself to what is wisest and best and good. And in doing so, I hope it leads you toward a lifestyle of steadiness, which would ultimately lend itself to you finding your sense of peace.